Hello, ahlan wa sahlan, keef hal my tribe. You are on the Rags page, and I'm back today with another power voice that I wanted to share with you. Sharing the screen with me on the other end, let me introduce you to my darling friend, Taylor Elizabeth from the Elegance Advisor. And she's here to give us some really strong points. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm very well. Thank you, Rags. How are you doing? Thank you so much for having me.
I have to say, I'm super happy. I'm super excited. And I've actually written down something that I wanted to tell the viewers about you. So, I have to tell everyone that Taylor is one of those people who actually alleviates my ability and my frame of mind just by saying good morning, Rags. Can you say that on for us? Can you say the good morning, Rags, for all of
Sure.
them?
Good morning, Rags.
Mwah. I don't know, there's something, you know what, I always say this to my viewers, that a voice has the power to heal, especially if it's, it just hits the right chords, as we were talking. But Taylor, you are really super gifted. You're super blessed, and stay shining. This is on behalf of all of us viewers, and I had to say this before we start our interview with you. Okay,
Thank you so much.
we've decided to pick up netiquette as a topic. So
Sure.
we're gonna do netiquette, and then if there is anything that you wish to add or you wish to tell the viewers, just feel free, please, to just go with the flow. Okay.
Sure.
So we're talking about netiquette now. What are the few do's and don'ts of online communication?
Okay, thank you so much for the question and your really kind introduction. It's very touching. It's a wonderful day to make my day. So thank you very much. Yes, so I just a little bit about my background so people just understand what I do a little bit is I am etiquette consultant and a coach, and I also teach image. So basically what I like to do is I take etiquette, like what we're talking about today, which is netiquette, very important topic.
Right.
And what I do is I
Right.
take that and I like the topic of etiquette, I take it and make it into skills and tools that people can use in their everyday life to be successful. And one area that I coach in is business etiquette. So that's what we're going to talk about today. My focus is going to be kind of on business etiquette. There's also the social part of how we should interact with our friends online, but a lot of this is focused on business because everybody is on Zoom calls now and everybody is we're living online. You know, this is
I
like our
know.
entire life is online.
Yeah.
And I think there are some things that come, there are some pitfalls that come with being online. I think we maybe lose a little bit of that human connection. So the first thing that I want to offer as a do is to be polite. Okay, so I know that there's a screen between us. It's maybe a little bit of a different interaction than if you were meeting somebody face to face, but being polite is still equally important. So I think you should be polite in your method of communication. So for example, when you get onto a chat or you get onto a Zoom call, say hello, ask somebody how they are. Don't just jump like straight into the business of what's going on, because you have an opportunity there to make a human connection. I think the human connection is incredibly important always, but particularly right now with what we have going on. I think we're starting to become more united maybe in the idea of being united, but actually growing apart a little bit because we're not seeing as many people, or and in the interactions that we do see people is a little awkward because we're not sure, or for health reasons we don't want to get too close to people, or it's not allowed. So that would be my first thing, is to be polite. You want to ask people how they're doing. The second do I would suggest is understand that there are different styles and formalities depending on which interface you're using. So there's definitely a different way of communicating in email than there is in communicating in WhatsApp or communicating in Zoom, for example. So for example, email is still pretty formal. You still need to do the, I would still really strongly encourage everybody to say dear, and then better if you are greeting somebody, use a Mr. or Ms. I think it's always very polite to
Okay.
do that. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's
Yeah.
always very polite. And versus if you're in a chat, you can just say hello, and of course still say the person's name, still ask them how they're doing, but it's a little bit different of a style. So be really aware of that. This one I always say, and I learned this from my father actually way before we really were online. And this was that be careful of what you put in writing. So a lot of these communications are in writing. A lot of our
Sure.
etiquette, everything we're
Sure.
doing is in writing. So be careful of what you're putting in writing, not because you should be sincere in writing and not sincere in speaking, but just sometimes we respond out of frustration, or we respond out of emotion, in emails or
Yes.
in writing, or we're not thinking about what
Yes.
we're writing. And as a
Yes.
result, you could write something and send it, and then that's a permanent record of that discussion, or it's
Sure.
you cannot take it back. Like, just like you can't take back words, you can't take back things you've written.
Yes. Yes.
So be very careful about that. When anything you put in writing, make sure that you're okay being held accountable to that moving forward. Again, remember the human element. I think that's a huge part of it. So be kind in all of your communications. I mean, would you like somebody to be writing this way to you? Would you say something like that in person? If you're not willing to do something in person, don't put it online. And then I would say the don'ts are, try to stay away from sarcasm. Sarcasm is really tough. I mean, if you know the person really well, it's easy, but
I'm glad you said this, because I'm on, so now I'll tell you my experience, if I can just chip in for a little bit, because I'm doing Zoom all the time now, and I'm pushing stuff out on the page, and there's always reasons for trolling. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
So I'm glad you spoke about this, and I think I have to hear and I have to learn. Go for it, Taylor.
Thank you. Yeah, so there's a lot of do's and don'ts here, and I, as everybody knows that follows me on my page, I can really like talk about this because this is my passion. So I totally love this topic. So please, anytime you would like me to change subjects, please let me know, because I'm happy to change it. But yeah, I would just say be careful about sarcasm. Sometimes sarcasm, could be very subtle, is very difficult to pick up digitally, either in Zoom or in messages. Jokes are also very difficult. And I would actually try to stay away from jokes unless they're at your own expense. A joke at your own expense where you're like, for example, oh my goodness, I'm so disorganized. What's wrong with me today? Like that kind of a thing.
That's
Fine.
good
But on
humor.
somebody else's
That's
expense,
just good
no.
humor. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Good humor. And then I would try to stay away from derogatory terms. So obviously no swear words. We're gonna try to stay away from that. Also uses of words like that maybe somebody doesn't necessarily think is offensive, like OMG is used a lot. Some people actually, that really is offensive to them, or it's not very professional sounding to them. So we should probably try to stay away from those. And my biggest don't here is if the conversation starts escalating. So, you know, sometimes there's a really big miscommunication in your emails or on your text messages, and you're just not getting it, and you're seeing that the other person, this conversation is getting a little out of hand, it's getting a little emotional. It's better to take it offline, either go meet with the person or pick up the phone and call them, because otherwise the miscommunication continues.
What a fabulous tip. What a fabulous tip. The last one, I just love it. I just love it, Taylor. So I'm going to do this. I'm just going to pick up the phone and I'm just going to say, hey, let's talk.
Yes. It's much easier that way.
Yes. So, do you want to take up the next question? I wasn't sure, so apologies, Taylor. But what are some useful abbreviations to use in online space? Do you want to take this one up? Do you know anything that comes to your mind, since you are online all the time? You already said OMG. You already spoke about it. So are there any other, short forms or something that you want to tell the viewers don't use or steer clear out of your experience?
Abbreviations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Out of your experience, just anything that comes to your mind.
I think any abbreviations that are very complicated, like that maybe especially generational. So I'm going to speak a little bit to like a younger generation, maybe to like, I hate to throw around the millennial term, because I think some people have negative association with that term, which I don't think we need to have, but I think some. So I just want to say, like, let's say millennials and like the XY and those generation. So we're all very accustomed to using digital to communicate, like text messaging, they've grown up with this is their entire existence. So they use abbreviations like for talk to you later, and like LOL and OMG and like and many other ones that I actually have no idea what they mean personally, because I don't use them very often, to be honest with you. So my suggestion is, when you're in your personal life, it's fine. As long as they're not derogatory, it's totally fine. But one of the big pitfalls with now living online, because we are totally online all the time, is there can be these lines that are very blurred between your professional life and your personal life. So my biggest suggestion about, and I mentioned my OMG thing, there's religious undertones there. For those people that are Christian, it could be offensive to them. But in addition to that, it doesn't seem very that's a very social thing to say, like OMG,
Right.
you know, but
Yeah.
like it's not a very professional thing to say. So
Sure.
my biggest thing about abbreviations would be, please
Mm,
keep them out of the professional chat.
mm,
So like your WhatsApp chat, if you have one for work, it should be conducted as if it were an extension of the office. So if you were not going to say that in the office, please don't use them on the chats. If you work for an industry in which it's very hip or like very young, or this is a part of your culture, then please go right ahead because it's already existing in the culture. But in
right.
general, I would say to try to avoid using them in your
Right,
chat.
right, right. Such a nice answer, Taylor. Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
for, and I really wanted to pick this up because I have to tell you, I am guilty of TTYL. So
Yes.
no TTYL on the Rags dictionary ever after. That's a promise. Okay, how can we convey emotions in an electronic message? This
Yes.
one is
Okay.
really
So
close to my heart.
yes. Yes. And I think this goes back to the human, that connect, the
Yeah,
question of you want to create some kind of feeling of humanity on the other line, because it is just a screen and it is sometimes just a number. So with
sure,
that you're talking to. So how do you keep that?
sure,
It is a challenge. I think it's about your word choice. So
sure.
I think expressing how you're feeling, I say, I feel this way, like this is how I'm feeling. Expressing gratitude, I think makes a human connection. For example, your wonderful introduction is really touching, and so I think
Oh,
you can still make these connections with
right.
people. I think that asking somebody how they are, this is a
Mm,
wonderful way to express, like they can
mm,
express their emotions, you express it back, it creates that connection. You
mm,
can use emojis. Emojis, again, I'm going to talk about personal and then professional. So
mm.
personal,
Go for
please,
it.
with
Mm,
emojis, yes, go right ahead. In fact,
mm,
research has shown that you kind of need to use them because it
mm.
does give that personal emotional connection piece.
Yes,
But
yes.
but there are some, like, and frankly, I'm not even well versed in this because I use always the same ones over and over again.
Mm,
But
mm,
there are certain emojis that are
mm.
maybe have unclear meanings, or they
Yeah,
have
yeah.
alternative meanings than what was
Sure.
intended,
Yes,
or pop
yes.
culture has given them other ones. So
Right.
as a result, it's better to stick away. So even in a business environment, it's totally
Mm,
fine to say, thank you very much, I
mm,
look forward to speaking to you tomorrow, with a smiley face. That's totally
mm,
fine.
mm,
But I would just stay away from those questionable ones. I would go for like the really, like, very obvious ones. So sad
mm,
face, happy
mm,
face, that
mm,
kind of a
mm,
thing, because they can be misconstrued, but that is one way to do emotions.
mm.
Okay, so all caps. Okay, so all caps is
Oh,
an
yes,
is this
all
is
caps. Let's talk about
yes.
all caps.
Okay, all caps is like an ongoing debate. In fact, there have actually been movements to try to have all caps key replaced from the keyboard. I don't know if you've read
Really?
anything about this, but like they've actually had
No,
this
but please
full-on
tell
discussion.
us. This is insightful.
Yeah, there have been some people actually recently that have
Mm, mm,
literally going for a petition to have it removed because it causes more harm, if you will. Then
absolutely.
it's less useful than
Sure,
it's more harmful than
sure,
useful. Excuse me.
sure, sure.
So why?
Mm,
All caps comes across as an
mm.
emotion if you want to show strong emotion, or if you want to
Ah,
show
yes,
yelling. It comes
yes,
across as yelling. Now,
yes.
some people are very good at reading context in messages. Some people
Mm,
are overread context in messages. So they
mm,
overread, they
mm,
read for things that are not there. And other
mm,
people just take things at face value as you read them.
mm,
So if somebody wants to highlight something in a social interaction, social
mm,
chat or something,
mm,
you put all caps, you're trying to bring attention to it. And if you're talking about happy things, then obviously you're trying to show a happy emotion.
mm,
If you're talking about angry things, you're yelling, you know what I mean? So
mm.
it's really, again, this is kind of like that sarcasm thing. It's very hard to read
Yes,
because
yes.
you're relying on people to read
Mm,
context very
mm,
well. And
mm,
I don't think we should ever assume anything. Actually, I think
mm,
assuming makes
mm.
a big fool out of everyone involved in that situation. So
Yes,
what we should do is
yes.
try to make it as clear as possible, take our
Sure,
communications as clear as possible.
sure.
So all caps can be a little bit dangerous. The only
Right.
time I think all caps are of good use is in an email or in a
Mm,
document in which you are
mm.
trying to highlight like a new title, for
Yes,
example, because
yes,
that's very
yes.
obvious what you're
Yeah.
doing with that. You're not
Something like
expressing.
urgent, right? Something
Yes,
like the word
exactly.
urgent or
Yes.
important, something like
Yes,
that,
exactly.
right? Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, but it doesn't translate very well for everything.
Sure.
And yeah, I think those are the ways that you can really show emotion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm glad you spoke about all caps, Taylor. I did have an email, we're not taking names, but I did have an email from somewhere. And obviously it was about a feature on the page, and it was all caps, and I felt exactly what you said, and I was like, gosh, this is so authoritative. Of course, you know, we're still having them on the channel, and now we've broken the ice and we've become good friends and all that. But then yes, this is something that I think everyone should take a little bit, you know, we should pay attention to this, the all
Yeah.
caps. It's the
Yeah.
signal.
I don't think people really understand the
Yes.
weight that comes with it.
Yes.
And or they just, I mean, it's a question of just awareness. That's it, really. Because a lot of
Absolutely.
times
Well
people
said.
do not have negative intent, but it just
Of
comes across
course.
that way.
Yeah, of course, of course. Like I said, now we've actually broken the ice. We've become good friends.
Yes.
We're even saying, okay, you know, you can come over for a cup of coffee anytime. But yes, so
Lovely.
it's nice. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. I think it's the need of the hour. And even for a person like me, I've been very naive with this whole Zoom thing and the whole interview like this. So it's a very interesting topic, even for me as a person to touch upon. Thanks,
Yeah.
Taylor, for all your views on this. Okay, my next question for you should be, how can we keep reminding ourselves that real people take priority? Tips to help you quit your cell phone
Oh, yes.
addiction. Pop, pop,
Yeah.
pop, pop.
Oh, this is such a good one.
Right
Thank you
now,
for,
I know
thank
so
you for
many
that.
people. I know so many people who are going to watch this, Taylor. They're going to say, "Look who's talking." They're going to tell me that.
Yeah. No, but the thing is, I was just about to say to you, my husband is very happy that we're having this conversation because he's
Yes.
like, good, now can you use what you're saying? Because I'm sure he's, because I mean, I really work
I
on
know
my
it.
social media quite a bit,
I
and I'm
know.
always, I mean, I'm always on it, and not even on it for, you know, looking, just really focusing on work. It's a totally work thing, but
Yeah.
I'm on my phone a lot. And I think
Yeah.
now, I think everybody is on their phone a lot, or
Sure.
their laptop,
Sure.
or their
Yes.
iPad, etc. So
Yes.
these are actually really good. This is actually a really good, important topic. So I'm really glad we're talking about this. Is also a reminder for myself because, like I said, I'm on it all the time. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, the first thing, I think the first thing we can do is awareness. So we need to be aware that we are on the phone a lot, and that we need to try to make a conscious effort to not be, because it can become addictive and have a habit forming also.
Sure.
And because
Sure.
now there's no, like I said, there's no definition between work and home for a lot of people. So it just kind of blends, and you don't
Yeah.
even realize
Yeah.
you're doing it anymore. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
we have this discussion a lot in our family about, like, we don't even realize how much time we're actually, how present the phone is. So I think being aware is the first thing. The second thing we can do is to not bring the phone to the dinner table. That's the first thing, or to the table at all. Like, the phone needs to stay away. So you need to, like, make time, like set very clear times, which will be like phone zero time, like no time. One of those
zero
times,
time. I love what you
yeah, there's
said.
zero time for the phone. We do this in our house. I would say, like, I would not say it's 100% effective all the time, because again, there's, for example, what happens is we're talking about something at dinner, and then he's like, my husband will be like, oh, let me go check on that. And of course, where do you go to check on it? On your phone. So
Yeah.
this is the awareness part. I think you have to stick with it also. So that's the thing. And we're trying, but I guess half of it is trying and half of it is executing it. So just keep on trying. The second thing is try to, for example, try not to bring the phone into your bedroom if you can. That's really important, to keep it away so you have good night's sleep, that you're not constantly on it until really late hours, that you have other time to engage with members of your family. Don't use it as an alarm clock. This is actually a great one. Actually buy an alarm clock, which I did do. I actually went out and bought an alarm clock. Which I have
There's
not
a
had an
lot I'm
alarm clock
taking
in
away
years.
from this interview, Taylor. There's a lot I'm taking away, and then
Thank
I'll
you.
have you over and I'll show you the new rags.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd love to do that. So I actually bought an alarm clock. It's a great one. So I use the alarm clock now. I think turning off your phone, like if you really need one-on-one time, put it on airplane mode if you can,
Sure.
unless you work in a profession that you're on emergency or something like that. Obviously, that's going to be a little difficult.
Sure.
I think you could delete unnecessary distracting apps on your phone. So really look at what you really need on that phone and try to remove the things that maybe are just distracting you from real life and those real relationships.
Yes.
Let's see if I can think of anything else. And just give the person 100% attention. Like, and if that means you can't have your phone anywhere near you, then just put it somewhere else. Like, literally leave it in another room, or leave it somewhere else charging. Oh, and the only thing I would say about business. So this is actually a really important tip for business. I know that it is very commonplace to to put your phone on the meeting room on the desk in front of you. That's very commonplace now, again, because everything is on our phone. And sometimes, yes, people do ask you to check for like times for the next meeting, etc. But if you are participating in a meeting, try to keep the phone without notifications going, because the notifications are super distracting and it brings your attention back to that and away from being present with other people. And then if you can keep it in your pocket, don't put it on the table. I realize maybe everybody else is doing it, but you will really stand out to the person presenting or to the person running the meeting, because you're giving them their full attention. There's absolutely nothing that is distracting you from that meeting. And this also, I guess, could carry into your personal life too. Turn off the notifications, try not to have anything distracting you. And then try, if you are running a meeting, to just ask everyone that we will schedule things related to our phones at the end of the meeting. So that way everybody really can focus on being present.
Sure. Wow. Give me a moment to take all of this information in.
I know it's tough. It is really tough.
No, but it's the truth, and it's the incredible blatant truth. Sorry for my language there, Taylor.
Okay.
But this, whatever you said, every word you said, I'm guilty. And I'm very honest, and I'm very, very honest. But I think it's time that we, come out of the comfort zone. Like you rightfully put it, it's not easy, but we have to do it. And now that Taylor's on the One with Rags channel, I know there are a few people who will say, do it. Oh my God. But I have to say, Taylor, I don't know if you've shared a similar experience ever, So I do a lot of the interviews, and you've seen many of our reels, a lot of them with the Emirati locals that I've done. Everything you said, they're so respectful, and I'm not just saying it, but I genuinely mean it. And I know a few of them will be watching what I'm saying. So I actually took away, when I was doing an interview with, I have to say this, with the Emirates Environment Group, Habiba Al-Marashi, this one is for you, Yani, you have to hear this. She actually made sure, everything was away. Her table was so neat, Taylor. It's just exactly what you pointed out at. And, we were just having an eye-to-eye, a heart-to-heart interaction. Yes. She made me feel super awesome. I mean, and then we, the communication flew, and it was so easy. It was just so smooth, the whole thing. Yeah. So, yeah.
I love the Emirati culture. I mean, I think one of the biggest blessings, this is slightly side tangent, but speaking to that.
But it's okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, I love, honestly, one of the things that has made my experience living in Dubai, which I do love, is I have some wonderful Emirati friends. And they have enriched my life so much through the culture and through engaging me and me learning about living here and what it means to be here, because they are so welcoming and they are so engaging. It is such a huge part of who they are as a people. And it really is, it is really a wonderful, wonderful thing. I can't even, I think that has really made my living here. I mean, living in Dubai is wonderful and I'm very, very happy here. But in addition to that, that really has added so much depth. And it's just the way in which they engage you. It's the way that they make you feel welcome, and they make you feel like you are valued in your interaction.
Why am I saying they? Why am I saying they? We. Yes. They're going to kill me. Yeah, I belong to you guys. Okay. Our next question, Taylor. How can we not embarrass ourselves on Zoom?
Oh, this is a great one. Thank you. This is a great question. Okay, I love talking about this. I've actually done a couple different posts, and I talked about it last night in a live that I did about Zoom.
I was there on that live.
Yes.
I was there on that live. Go for it.
It was a really fun one. I really enjoyed it.
You were amazing, as always.
Zoom. Okay, so Zoom, I mean, for some people, they have been doing this, I guess, video conferencing for a while in different software or whatever, different facets, or maybe you can go back to Skype, long time, that kind of a thing. They've been doing this, so they were kind of pros. But a lot of people were thrown into this for the first time, so they're not really sure like what to do, right? Exactly. So, I mean, now it's literally a part of every single day. You don't even think about it. It's like breathing almost. But before it was quite a steep learning curve, I think, for a lot of people, because there's a lot going on here. So I would say the first thing about Zoom, and to avoid being embarrassed, is you need to treat it like as if you were in person with somebody. Like this is, yes, there's a computer screen or a screen in between you and the other person, but it should be exactly the same. So think like as if the person could see you in their entirety, and how are you going to behave? And you should behave the same way that you would as if you were face to face with somebody. So in like any meeting. So first, like be prepared. So that means like prepare the space around you so you don't embarrass yourself with somebody either coming in and out inappropriately or children running in and out, which I know for us moms that or dads out there, that can be a little bit of a challenge when we're working from home and the kids are screaming and running. Try to find a quiet place. Try to find a place where it's like animal free or noise free or distraction free. Make sure your technology is working. I mean, granted, you know, the technology is always going to fail. It's always the thing that's going to fail. You can be so prepared and then it will always be. I mean, this is my experience having worked all around the world doing public relations before, is that no matter what I did, I could be totally ready. My guests were totally ready. Everybody was ready. And then the technology always fails. So try to, as much as possible, that you can control, try to get the technology to be working and make sure it's working, test it. Make sure your slide, if you're going to share your screen, make sure your screen is totally clean, that nothing personal is going to show up, because that's super embarrassing if you're working on something and you don't even realize it and now everybody can read your emails or whatever else. So try to do that. Work on your appearance. Okay, so your appearance is really important. I know there was a lot going around in the beginning. We don't hear so much of it now, where people dress business on the top and then they're in pajamas on the bottom. I would say, okay, fine, no problem, because you can only see the top part. Okay, but I say to get really in the mindset and like a focusing being on a business, just make the effort to like get dressed like as if you were to go to work. That would be it.
And there's a good feeling. Sorry, Taylor, can I say something?
No,
there's a good feeling. So every time I'm doing these Zoom interviews, there's a good feeling when I'm wearing, you know, I don't wear too much makeup otherwise, and you know, unless and otherwise. But there's a good feeling even when you just, thank you. There's a good feeling even when you just dab a little powder on your face and just that base lipstick, you know. Would you agree?
Yeah.
It's just, it just makes me happy. It just uplifts my mood. I feel like I'm going somewhere. And guess where I'm going? I'm coming to the living room and I'm having my Zoom with you all.
Exactly.
Sorry,
and it also, I think, gets you in the right mindset. It gets you in the right mindset, which and I think we're less too embarrassed. I think sometimes we become embarrassed or we do things that are maybe a little awkward when we are intimidated or maybe caught off guard or not prepared. And I think getting yourself ready, like being dressed a certain way, really gets yourself prepared for what you're about to do. It gets you in the right mindset. So I think that's part of it. Body language is huge. I think body language is a huge one. So be very careful of your eyes, your facial expressions. Some people roll eyes, or they like have a face that kind of doesn't show any kind of emotion whatsoever or any recognition. And so I think all you can do with that is just literally record yourself talking on your Zooms yourself, because you have to have permission to record other people, but you can record yourself, and then you just watch what your facial expressions you're making, because it can be really telling on what you do. We do things we don't even realize we're doing, and sometimes it can be embarrassing, or you can be embarrassed because maybe you didn't mean to say, your facial expression said something totally different than what your words actually said. Because I say this a lot about word choice and about body language, is you see words and you speak words and you hear words, but you also feel words, you feel things. And so people can feel a certain way by looking at you or by the words that you're saying. So you should be very aware of that, and don't multitask. So I think multitasking is really, I mean, it's very natural thing to happen, because these Zoom calls, I mean, you can be back to back Zoom calls, and not so dynamic like an interview like this, for example, but literally just like a daily meeting that you have, a standing meeting, and you're getting emails about work. We have this phone addiction that we talked about. So like people, you get distracted by your phone. Don't do that, because people can see it, and that can be embarrassing if somebody calls you out on it. It doesn't make you look very professional. And also maybe you could lose track of the conversation, and so you could miss on something that's quite important, and later you'll be embarrassed because you don't know what they're talking about because you were looking at your phone. So those are some tips on how to be less embarrassed.
Super pointers, you know, and they just relate. They sit beautifully with the topic that we're actually talking about today. But I'm glad I'm glad we're just talking about these things. You know, these things we feel from, you know, from where I am. Oh, I know these things. But the idea is, how many of us really do this? So, you know, that's where, Taylor, you come into the picture.
I think educating yourself and growing as a person is a constant thing. I
Yes.
constantly am
Yes.
trying to make myself the best version of myself. And
Nice.
I constantly need reminders as well, or
Of course.
re-education to re-educating myself about what I'm doing, how I'm coming across. Something I heard myself recorded the other day because my daughter was recording something on her iPad.
Mm,
And I was like, oh my goodness, do I
mm.
sound like that? Because my intent was totally not the way that I sounded. So, I mean, everybody needs
Wow.
that.
Hmm.
Everyone needs that.
Hmm. 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 Nice. Okay. When should you use all caps in an internet communication? We already spoke about this, but is there,
Yes.
so other than important and notice, and is there anything that you want to highlight when and tell the viewers?
I would say try to keep it out of your professional
Mm,
communications, unless
mm,
it's in the
mm,
email or in a document, like I said
mm,
before.
mm.
Personally, like if you're one of your
Yeah,
very good friends, they tell you that they're expecting a child, for example, or they tell you that because again, a lot of these really intimate communications is
sure,
happening now
sure.
digitally because
Yeah,
unfortunately we're not seeing our
yeah.
friends necessary, but unfortunately.
Mm,
And so I would say like all caps for that is totally fine. It's
mm,
totally fine. I would say like happy birthday, for example, or
mm.
happy anniversary, all caps, because you would be in person, like not
Yeah,
screaming
yeah,
at them, but I think
yeah. But you'd be happy.
people, yeah, people are happy. And also people will not misread that context. There's no way that somebody's going to misread
Mm,
that. I think that's always
mm,
the issue
mm,
is, and I think one big thing about etiquette and about being polite is you need to think about always consider the other person. So how
mm,
is the other person going to receive what I'm saying? How are they going to feel about what I'm saying? Is there any way that they could
mm,
misunderstand what I'm saying? So that's with all caps, I would just be careful about in professional because people are coming, especially professionally, people
mm,
are coming as English because English is the language we're using
mm,
generally speaking in business
mm,
here. And so I would say it's
mm,
not their first language
mm,
necessarily. So you might have some confusion there. In addition
mm.
to that, people maybe are not
Yes,
used to ex- expressing so much in a business environment as well. So
yes,
it could
yes.
be taken the wrong way or off-putting. So I think in business I would
Mm,
just avoid it, but in personal
mm,
there are some circumstances for sure.
mm, mm, mm. Okay, quickly moving on. Um, what does it mean to scroll a screen
Okay.
in a chat room?
Yes. Okay, so when I knew what this was, I didn't realize it had an official name. So now that I know what this official name is, so what it means is when, thank you very much, see, educating. See, I'm learning something and I'm very grateful for it. So what it means is when somebody goes into a chat and they start typing like responses or comments, but like, and then basically like one word and then send, one word send, one word send. And
Mm,
basically what it's done is to annoy people, actually. It's very difficult to follow that thread. It's very
yes,
difficult because people are
yes,
just like putting one letter and then sending it. It's
yes.
really not nice to do.
Yeah.
It's like bullying
Don't do it.
online. Yeah, don't do that, please. Please don't do that. I don't know what people, I mean, besides you're trying to irritate people, and I feel like it's so unkind to
Mhm,
irritate people and cause
mhm,
frustration intentionally. I mean, it's quite a
mhm,
mean thing to do. So please
mhm.
don't do that.
So the funny thing is, I have to say this. So the funny thing is, they don't understand why am I frustrated when the team does that. So guys,
Mm,
don't do it. Now Taylor said it too. Don't do it.
yeah, try if you have something to express. I guess I'm
Mm,
assuming people are doing it
mm,
intentionally. Usually when people are speaking about it, it's because they're doing it intentionally, but maybe people
yeah,
are not. Maybe they just have a thought that comes in their mind and they
yeah,
say
yeah.
like
It's more
hello,
that,
and
yeah.
then yeah, exactly. So instead just try to put the whole thought into one message and then send it, so it's much easier to follow moving forward.
Oh, I'll tell you what happens with me when I'm driving. So I can't. So obviously, when you're driving, the last thing you want to do is you want to message or you want to call. I steer clear from the phone on those times. They'll be like, call now.
Mm,
Okay. Then another sentence. Important. Then another word.
yes.
Urgent. So guys, don't do it.
Yes.
They actually make me nervous
Yes.
because many a time, you don't understand what's going on. It could be anything.
Yes.
That could mean anything. So don't do it, guys.
Yes, I think that
Okay.
what happens often when people are not
Mm.
doing it intentionally, I mean, intentionally is a totally different topic, like I mentioned
Yeah.
before, but if you're not doing it
Yeah.
intentionally, I think people,
Yeah.
it's a hard thing to, again, because our lives are so
Mm.
blurred between what's happening are personal, professional, and like what's real in reality versus online. Everything is all together now. So people just do it like as if they're talking to you. And it's like, yes, but people can't read it like that necessarily. So it becomes a little complicated then.
Yeah. I'm glad we spoke about this actually. Okay. Our channel speaks with strength on being ethical. If you're following our channel, Taylor, how can we practice this with proper netiquette? Any ideas? Any suggestions?
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to approach that question. I really appreciate this question. I think there's a lot of ways you can approach it. It depends on, for example, your online presence. So I would say be honest and be genuine about your online presence. That would be the first thing that I would say. This isn't so much in the being polite part, but just be genuine to who you are. You want to respect people when you're online. So for example, let's just talk about being on social media. If you're on Instagram, or if you're on, I mean, Snapchat, Instagram, all these things like this, if you're on Zoom, if you're going to make comments, be constructive. Be positive. Don't make comments to tear other people down. Be respectful. In addition, if you see something of really interesting content online and you share it or you use it for your personal page, please make sure you credit people. That's an ethical thing. Like it's not your property. I mean, yes, and this is where it gets a little, it doesn't even get gray, but I think people think it's a little bit fuzzy because it's online, you know what I mean? And so everybody has access to it, but that actually is somebody's property technically. And so please, like, it's correct and ethical to reference that person, you know, or give credit to the artist, for example. I think it's always good to pay it forward. I think it's always good to help other people and to support other people. And if you see something that you really think will resonate with, for example, if you have followers, resonate with your followers, share it. Or if you really feel like somebody has really has a subject that they're really talking about that's important for the world to see, please help them. Please help them get their information out there. I think that's very important. And I think one of the bigger things about communicating with these different tools, so for example, on Zoom or text message or whatever, is I think it's really important to learn how to communicate with neutrality. So learning to communicate with neutrality is you really investigate what the person is saying that is writing to you. You don't react emotively. You really understand. You give people the benefit of the doubt. Giving people the benefit of the doubt, I think, is really important. You don't jump to conclusions. We don't jump to assumptions. We give people the benefit of the doubt. Ask a lot of questions. Ask questions that you don't understand and you need clarity, instead of just assuming something is a certain way. I think this is actually a really important approach, is when you think about giving somebody the benefit of the doubt, learn to read and to write your communications with neutrality, because again, like I said, those conversations can get really out of control very quickly because there's a lot of miscommunication. So that's what I would say about being ethical online.
I love that answer.
Thank you.
I love that answer. I won't stop saying it. It's so amazing. And this is exactly what our channel is all about, Taylor. You've been following now. You often hear me say that, be organic, be clean with your intention. And guys, both Taylor and Rags want to tell you just that one thing. Just be yourself. You don't have to fit into anybody else's shoes, you know. You do what you do well and do it with the right intention. Taylor, this was a fabulous interview. Did you enjoy?
Oh, I loved it. Thank you so much.
Do you have any parting words for my viewers and your viewers, our viewers?
I think actually what you just said last is so important. There's only one of you, and that is powerful. It's totally powerful. So you should be yourself and always strive to be the best version of yourself, not the best version that somebody else wants to see you to be or what you think society wants you to be, but you should be the best version of yourself and take those gifts, develop them, and bring it to be positive in the world. Add positivity to the world, add kindness to the world, benefit the world, because you have all those tools already, and there's nobody else out there like you. So embrace that. I think that's really important.
Beautiful, Taylor. Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
You were very gracious, very gentle, and I'm taking away so much from this interview. Please don't go anywhere, Taylor. Stay on the screen 1 minute while I say bye to our audience. Okay, viewers. So this was Taylor Elizabeth from the Elegance Advisor. I will be pushing out lots of our information when we push out our reel. Meantime, stay on the Rags page and enjoy our content, and stay humble and stay kind. This is your show host Rags signing out for now until I see you the next time. Bye everyone. Mas salama and stay well.